If you're new here, my name is Clara. I make bookish videos on the youtube.com, and today I wanted to do an autumn TBR because, as you can see, I have a lot of books that I want to read this autumn. So in the next 3 months or so, I'm counting September, October, November, and it's already halfway through September, and I've actually been struggling to read this month. I've only finished one book and the month it's almost gone. Now, am I saying I'm going to read all of these? We can hope, but it's very doubtful that I'll be able to get to all of these, but I like having options. So I've compiled a bunch of the books that make me feel like it's autumn, or make me think they're going to have the vibes that I'm looking for this month, because and the next 2 months as well. But I'm very much a mood reader, but I'm also like a season reader. So when it's summertime, I want to read books set in the summer. When it's autumn, I want to read books set in the autumn, etc., etc. So I think it's a really fun way to welcome new seasons in. So here come the police. So without further ado, let's just jump right in, shall we? First, I don't have the cover on this, but I am reading The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I'm actually buddy reading this with my fiance. They've been listening to the audiobook on their commute to work, and I've been reading it, and I've fallen so far behind because I haven't been able to focus much this month. I am enjoying it though. It's fun. It feels a little bit predictable. I read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom by her, was it last year or 2 years ago? And I adored those books. That was also a buddy read I did with my fiance. I knew I wanted to read The Familiar, and I think this is gonna be our thing, is just like our Leigh Bardugo reading-a-thon. This is about a young scullion maid who works for this family who has a very complicated relationship with each other, and she has some magical power. One day her employer figures out that she has these powers and is entering her into the king's, like, it's a competition. Yeah, that's all I know so far. I'm 151 pages in, so I still have quite a ways to go, but the vibes of it are very like dark and gloomy. Also, if you have not seen the cover for this book, you should definitely look it up. It is beautiful, and I don't know where I put mine. A second thing I'm reading is Stoner by John Williams. This book is about William Stoner, who becomes a professor at a college and teaches English, and just falls in love with literature and reading and knowledge and English and language, and that's his one true love in life. And it's very mundane. It follows him, growing up, going to college, kind of defying what his parents wanted for him, meeting someone, getting married, their tumultuous relationship, he has a child. It's very mundane, and we just follow Stoner through the years as his life goes on, and all the little things that happen to him while his love of English literature and stuff persists. And it's honestly, right now, is so devastating. I am so sad for this man. He lives such a lonely life. I'm really loving it so far. I am 173 pages in, and it's so melancholy. It's such a mood. But I highly recommend this if you feel like picking it up. And then the third and final book I am currently reading right now, and my original intention for this book was to read it all in one sitting. It's funny because an old friend actually messaged me and was like, don't read this in one sitting, you're gonna be devastated, and I inevitably listened. I have never felt more seen in my life. The Book of Disquiet by Fernando Pessoa, just an incredible writer. You can tell he's a poet because the way he writes is so lyrical and poetic and beautiful. and he expresses thoughts that I have never been able to put into words, and he does it in such a magnificent, flawless way, and I cannot get enough of his writing. That said, it is very sad, and he has a lot of existential feelings that he puts down. It's very much like stream of consciousness, almost diary entries. Essentially, this book consists of writings that were found in a trunk filled with unfinished and unpublished writings after his death. He is amazing. I have tabbed so much in here. I've highlighted so much. I'm gonna just read you a passage so you can get an idea of the way that he writes. I saw that I was on stage and didn't know the part that everyone else recited straight off, also without knowing it. I saw that I was dressed as a page, but they didn't give me the queen and blamed me for not having her. I saw that I had a message in my hand to deliver, and when I told them that the sheet of paper was blank, they laughed at me. And I still don't know if they laughed because all sheets are blank or because all messages are to be guessed. Finally, I sat down on the rock at the crossroads, as before the fireplace I never had, and I began all by myself to make paper boats with the lie they'd given me. No one would believe in me, not even as a liar, and there was no lake where I could try out my truth. But that's what I'm talking about. Like, everything, every line in this is so incredible. It's like a 400-something page book. And I got to 185 pages in, and I was like, I need to take a break because this is hitting way too close to home. And that's not to say I'm not loving it, because I am loving it, but I have not been in a mental state recently where I should be consuming extra sad, relatable content. I kind of need a sort of escapism at this point. So this was depressing me so much, but in the most beautiful way, and I absolutely intend to return to it probably like within the next week or so, because I have taken a little bit of a break from it. But yeah, I'm sorry, I've been yapping about this for too long, but highly recommend. Now let's get into the books that I want to read this month. I keep saying this month. I'm so used to making like monthly TBR videos. I'm not used to making seasonal ones, so this is a little new for me, I think. I don't think I've made one. Anyway, you don't care. So I did at one point have these divided into like monthly TBRs for autumn, but now they're all kind of scrambled. I'm just gonna go through and talk about them to the best of my knowledge. So the first thing I have is The October Country by Ray Bradbury. This is a collection of stories by Ray Bradbury, and I have only ever read one book of his. I read it last month? That was Dandelion Wine, and I fell in love with that book and his writing. I cannot say enough good things about that book. I adore it. So I really wanted to get to another book of his, and I wasn't sure which one, but I do own The October Country, and this is honestly perfect. And as far as I know, this is, I'm just gonna read you the back. The October Country is Ray Bradbury's own netherworld of the soul, inhabited by the horrors and demons that lurk within all of us. This classic collection features the emissary, the small assassin, the scythe, the jar, the wonderful death of Dudley Stone, and 14 more unforgettable tales. And I have heard shut up! There's illustrations. I didn't know there was illustrations in this. That is so cool. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm definitely gonna be reading this one in October. I also would really love to find the Halloween tree. Next, I have Committed on Meaning and Madwoman by Susan Scanlon. This is a nonfiction, and it's about Suzanne, who was a student at Barnard in the 90s, grieving the loss of her mother, feeling untethered, and swimming through inarticulable pain. She made a suicide attempt that landed her in the New York State Psychiatric Institute for 3 years and countless experimental treatments. It just sounds incredible, and I'm really looking forward to it. Right after I said I don't want to read anything super sad, but this has been on my radar for a hot minute, and I meant to read it during the summer, and it's definitely something I would like to get to by the end of the year. Whether that is, you know, in autumn or winter, I'm fine with either, but I did want to include this on the list because it just sounds fantastic. Next is a behemoth. A large boy, a chunky guy, if you will. Guess I could maybe read it in winter. That might have the same vibes, the same effects, but I'm hoping to read this one in November, I think. I might save it for November, and then it can kind of carry me in between seasons and whatnot. But that is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. I know very little to nothing about this. I believe it is a revenge plot of sorts. It's funny and witty, and it doesn't feel like you're reading a classic as far as everyone has said. The future could hardly look brighter for Edmond Dantes. Only 19 years old, but already an experienced seaman, he is about to be named captain of the merchant vessel Pharaon. His deep and passionate love for the beautiful Mercedes is returned in every respect. They will be married in a few short weeks. Everyone who knows this handsome, modest young man wishes him the best. That is, almost everyone. Edmond is unaware that 3 men he knows well envy him and are conspiring to bring him down. This is my big project for autumn. This is the biggest book I have on this TBR, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm so scared. It is so massive, but I think it's gonna be really fun, and I'm just looking forward to it. I've been trying to get into more classics, and the last big classic I read was East of Eden, which I read in July, and I adored that. And it, like, as I was reading, I was like, this isn't scary, even though it was so long, and I was aware of that. I just kind of have to get over that hump of being afraid of a book, and as soon as I start reading, I'm like, oh, this is fine. So that is The Count of Monte Cristo. Wish me luck. Let me know if I should do a reading vlog, maybe. I'm not really well versed in reading vlogs, but I can absolutely do my best if you want to follow along on that adventure, or any other adventure for that matter. Anyways, moving on. The next book I have is actually a recent purchase. I've heard nothing but good things. I've heard this is kind of like a horror, but also kind of like a lit fic horror, so it has some like deeper meanings to it, and I don't know a whole lot about this one, and I'm completely fine with that. I kind of want to go into it like that, knowing very little, and that is Monstrilio by Gerardo Samano Gortova. This is about a mother whose son dies, and in her grief she carves out a small piece of his lung and saves it, and it sounds maybe like it's gonna be like a Frankenstein-ish situation where she recreates him, maybe? I could be making that up. I don't know. I haven't read the book. And like I said, I want to know as little as possible. I think this would be a great October read, so yeah. Oh yeah, it says it says bizarre and brilliant, a modern Frankenstein. I'm so good. Anyway, this cover is amazing as well. So the next book I have, about a year ago or so, was it last year? It might have been last year or the year before, I don't know. But I read a story out of this collection, and then for whatever reason I put it down. I don't know why, because I wanted to continue reading the entire thing. So I'm hoping this year is the year I'm able to read all of this, or at least more of it. And that is The Lottery and Other Stories by Shirley Jackson. If you don't know, I am a Shirley Jackson fangirl, but I was able to get to The Lottery last year, and I loved it. It was crazy. It made me think of The Hunger Games. An incredible writer. My favorite is Haunting of Hill House. I love the book, I love the show, and I loved We Have Always Lived in the Castle as well. So there's quite a few other things I need to read by her, maybe before I can start calling myself a fangirl, but I really adore her writing. Next, I have The Idiot by Elif Batuman. This I put on my autumn TBR solely because it is set in the 90s and it's set at a college and it's giving academia vibes. So the year is 1995. Email is new. Celine, the daughter of Turkish immigrants, arrives for her freshman year at Harvard, where she signs up for classes in subjects she has never heard of, befriends her charismatic Serbian classmate Svetlana, and almost by accident begins corresponding with Ivan, an older mathematics student. I'm really excited. I don't know what about this has really grabbed me and hooked me, but I really want to read this soon. Next on this list, I have In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. This is a book I've actually picked up multiple times and then put down for whatever reason. There goes my bookmark. Take a look at my girlfriend. She's the only one I got. I picked this up a couple times, twice I think, and I've read a little bit and then I put it down every time, and I don't know why. I think because, actually, maybe I do know why. This is a book I want to annotate, which requires a lot of like extra brain power and time and highlighting and tabbing and whatnot, so it's a commitment, and I'm already doing that with the Book of Disquiet. So and I think prior to that, when I had picked it up, I was doing that with something else too. I don't like to do two books that I'm going to be annotating at the same time if I can help it. I kind of just want like maybe an annotation book and then another book that I just read for the heck of it. Yeah, but this is a book that I have had on my radar for years and years, and from what I read so far, I know I'm going to absolutely love this. This is technically a memoir. It's an electrifying account of a relationship gone bad and a bold dissection of the mechanisms and cultural representations of psychological abuse. Each chapter is divided by its own narrative trope, through which Machado holds her story up to the light, while also casting a critical eye over legal proceedings, fairy tales, iconic works of film and fiction, and a broad swath of queer history. This just seems like it's gonna have it all, and I'm so excited to read this, and it just feels like something that should be read in autumn. It feels like something I kind of want to pick up before bed and maybe read a couple of the little chapters before going to sleep. I don't know. Except I actually thrifted this the other day and I was so excited because this is a book I've been unable to find anywhere. I did the worst thing imaginable. Was it last week when I found this? Okay, funny story. Tangent. So we go to the thrift store all the time. We usually go on Tuesdays. My point is, we went on a Sunday and didn't realize that they closed a whole hour earlier. And so we walked in. There was other people walking in too, but now looking back, I'm pretty sure they were probably employees. It was so quiet in there. And I was like, this is nice. This is really nice. It's so quiet in here. And so we go to the back where the books are, and I'm just like, I'm looking through for a good 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden, this employee comes running over and he's like, we're closed. I was like, huh? And he's like, it's Sunday. We closed an hour earlier. We've been closed. I literally walked into a closed store with my fiance and we were just browsing books. Just browsing. They weren't mad or anything, but I felt so awful. I was doing awesome with my thrifting that day. I had a whole handful of books and he's like, oh, you can come and buy them. I'll check you out at the register. I felt so bad. Anyway, on that trip, and now forever haunting my memory, is Garden Spells by Sarah Addison Allen. I forget who it was that I heard talking about this. I want to say, was it Leora Eileen maybe who was talking about this? The Waverleys have always been a curious family endowed with peculiar gifts that make them outsiders even in their hometown of Bascom, North Carolina. Even their garden has a reputation, for the Waverly history is in the soil and so are their futures. So it's gonna be like, it's like a sister thing and a magic thing, witches and magic, and that's all I really know about this. It was described beautifully by whoever pitched this to me. Me specifically, it was not me specifically, it was a video. Anyway, but this seems like the perfect book for October. Next I have another October read, and that is Carmilla by Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu, edited by Carmen Maria Machado. That's actually crazy. I have never seen a more beautiful book in my entire being of life. If you don't know this about me, I love bats. I freaking love bats. This is a sapphic vampire story that predates Dracula. This, I have a very vivid memory actually. My best friend in high school was obsessed with this mini series on YouTube where they acted out Carmilla. Anyway, she was obsessed with that and she made me watch the whole thing. Next, I want to read Bluebeard's Castle. This is another October one for sure. This cover, another amazing cover. And she actually, oh shoot, I did not know this. So I have yet to see this movie, but I've seen a lot of pictures and clips from it called The Love Witch, and apparently this is the director of The Love Witch, and she wrote a book called Bluebeard's Castle. I did not know this prior to this moment. When the successful British mystery writer Judith Moore meets Gavin, a handsome and charming baron, at a birthday party on the Cornish coast, his love transforms her from a bitter, lonely young woman into a romance heroine overnight. After a whirlwind honeymoon in Paris, he whisks her away to a secluded Gothic castle, but soon she finds herself trapped in a nightmare as her husband's mysterious nature and his alternation between charm and violence become increasingly frightening. As Judith battles both internal and external demons, including sexual ambivalence, psychological self-torture, gaslighting, family neglect, alcoholism, and domestic abuse, she becomes increasingly addicted to her wild beast of a husband. This is a take on modern romance and gothic erotica. So before I get to the last three, I guess I'll just show you these books that I have on like my maybe stack, meaning like they aren't my top priority being everything else I just showed you, plus the three that I'm going to show you. But these two, I'm not quite sure if I want to get to them this year. I just kind of like save them for a random point in time. I don't know. But that is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher and Beloved by Toni Morrison. I feel like I could read these at any other time. This, I believe, is a reimagining of House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe. I'm really excited about this because I loved Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher, and I'm also excited about this because I loved Sula by Toni Morrison. And this is about Seth, who was born a slave and escaped to Ohio, but 18 years later she is still not free. She has too many memories of Sweet Home, the beautiful farm where so many hideous things happened, and Seth's new home is haunted by the ghost of her baby who died nameless and whose tombstone is engraved with the single word, beloved. I've heard such amazing things about this one, and from experience, Toni Morrison is an incredible writer, so I'm looking forward to every single one of her books, as well as T. Kingfisher. But these are not top priority on my autumn TBR. If I get to them, I get to them, I think. Or if I'm just like feeling in the mood for them, maybe. Last three. This is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. Last year or 2 years ago, I read Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and I absolutely loved that. So I'm really excited to get to another Bronte sister. This is my next read, honestly. After I finish Stoner and The Familiar, I'm going to be picking up Wuthering Heights. It's like a gothic, toxic romance. Devastating epic of childhood playmates who grow into soulmates, Wuthering Heights revolves around the willfully childish Catherine and the dark Heathcliff. Heathcliff and Kathy believe they're just destined to love each other forever, but when cruelty and snobbery separate them, their untamed emotions literally consume them. Set amid the wild and stormy Yorkshire moors, Wuthering Heights is widely regarded as the most original tale of thwarted desire and heartbreak in English language. I'm just so excited for this. I have never seen the movie. I have never read the book, so I have no idea what's going to happen in this, and I'm so excited to have never been spoiled for it. So this is my next read, for sure. Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is the second book in the Lord of the Rings. I just feel like it's the time. I've read The Hobbit and I've read Fellowship of the Ring, I think twice. I have a distinct memory of reading The Fellowship of the Ring back in like 2015. But I love the movies, so I've watched the movies a bajillion times. And then I also listened to it on audiobook at least once, maybe twice. So hard to say, but I know the story. I remember what happens in Fellowship, so I've been wanting to get to Two Towers for a long time because I don't think I've actually read Two Towers or Return of the King, and I don't know what's wrong with me. I love Lord of the Rings so much. If you don't know, I named my dog Pippin after Pippin. I don't know why I put it off for so long. I think I'm intimidated. I'll admit it. I feel like everyone knows what Lord of the Rings is about, so I'm not gonna explain it. There's a ring. And then the last book is not so much vibes, but it's just a book that I heard about very recently. I think it's Paperbacks and Daisies. Absolutely obsessed with her videos recently, and she has really great recommendations. She is super open about her chronic illness, and I was actually recently diagnosed with a chronic illness and chronic pain illness, and have been coming to terms with it and kind of just readjusting my life and whatnot. So I have been on the lookout for chronic pain books. And so she recommended Body Friend by Catherine Bradon. This is an Australian author. This is about our narrator who meets two different women who also have chronic pain, I believe, but they deal with it in very different ways. I don't know a whole lot about this. It's very short though, but I'm really looking forward to it because she said it's her favorite book of all time, and I am really just looking for representation right now. So hopefully this will hold the same amount of meaning for me as it does for her. This and Wuthering Heights I think are going to be my next reads. So those are all the books that I want to get to in autumn. Let me know if any of these are on your TBR, or if you've enjoyed any of these books. Maybe which ones I should get to first, besides the obvious two. Let's do the thing that if you don't know what to comment, comment some autumn emojis down below, like leaves and mushrooms and jack-o'-lanterns and stuff. Wherever you are, you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you soon with a new video. Okay, love you, bye!